Beautiful. We are back, and it's time for us to now have a look at the newspapers. And of course, I mean, there is just something about listening to worship music that is in line with the Word of God, that is in line with what we have had during the devotion time, to just know that God is still God, even when things are not good, even when the situations are tough, to know that God is still God and He is still good. So right about now, allow me to just get down to the Daily Nation, the Standard, and also the Business Daily, just briefly, so that we can know what is being reported. And on the Daily Nation, the top story is Kenyans named in Trump worst illegal aliens list. So this is quite interesting. I see former President George W. Bush deported thousands during his term, and some 15 Kenyans are among hundreds of foreign nationals set to be kicked out of the U.S. as President Donald Trump pushes ahead with controversial mass deportations. Those on the list have been branded the worst of the worst by authorities due to their past criminal records. This is a story covered on page 3, that is of the Daily Nation. And I also see what to expect as KJSEA results are being released today. And actually, this is what is forming our conversation today. We'll be looking at how do we manage results from exams expectations when it comes to our children, because we find that, you know, your father and your mother has given you a goal. You must achieve this in order to go to a certain school. There's a lot of anxiety, by the way, today, because many are hoping that this school that I chose, I really want my child to go there. But how do we manage this expectation? So the release of the 2025 Kenya Junior Sec School Education Assessment results today is a watershed moment in the competency-based education journey. The 1.1 million candidates who undertook the assessment will have their results presented in a format different from what the country has been used to. No percentage marks will be given, but rather the results will be descriptive, followed by a quantitative score. Interesting. Each subject will be awarded a maximum of 8 points, and given the 9 subjects that were tested, the maximum points that a candidate will be able to score is 72. So the style has changed a little bit. It's no longer about the percentages that we used to have in the previous education curriculum. But you can have a look at that story even as we manage our expectations today before the festivities come. A story covered on page 4. And I also see here, police shot most of their victims from behind, says report. So the Independent Medical Legal Unit's findings have revealed a pattern of unlawful killings during protest and routine operations by security officers in the country. A story covered on page 5. Gachagua here is also saying why Kalonzo is the man to beat Ruto. Former DP says the Wiper leader possesses 8 attributes that make him the United Opposition's prime candidate in the 2027 presidential race. Interesting. A story covered on page 7. You can have a look at it. Now, let us go to the Standard newspaper just to see also what are the highlights even as we proceed on. And of course, still the top story is about the examinations. Radical shift begins amid rising concerns over unpreparedness at running senior schools that begin next year. Today, grade 9 candidates receive results of their performance in the last 2 years of junior secondary school. And then we see here that despite warnings that have followed the calamitous implementation of JSS across the country, education mandarins begin preparing to send more than 1 million of the country's youngsters into the first step of their career paths in grade 10. To some, it's a fishing expedition, a story covered on page 4, and it goes ahead to tell us that 11 million learners received the first ever KJSEA scores today, and then 2 new scoring model replaces the 500 mark race. So now it's 72, and then KJSEA only count for 60% of the final score. And also see National Assessment Report to shape policy, and also NEC to recommend each learner's pathway. That's a story covered on the Standard as well, which is forming a big part of the conversations today, even as we even go on to the second hour. Real estate, why pensioners 2.5 trillion shillings holds key to surge in home ownership. Expensive cities to use public transport. Want that nice house? Interior decor to dictate the price. So that's a story that has also been covered on the Real Estate Pullout newspaper today. And coming down to the Business Daily, just to see what are the headlines, it says here Treasury discloses 103 billion shillings expressway termination fee. And I also see how KTDA bosses hurt market with floods of low quality teas. And then it goes ahead to say Centum to issue dollar real estate fund in January, and also half of banks snub fresh CBK loans pricing formula. There's also a story here, regulator raises alarm over Christmas hacking of SACCOs. This is quite interesting, and people definitely need to be careful and keen when it comes to the places they choose to invest in this season. So that is what we have for the newspaper review. And just looking at what we have on X today, Jeff Koinange returns to JK Live after 6 months break. We also see Trufena Mudhoni hugs tree for 72-hour record in Nyeri. Interesting. And I also see Nakuru sculptor unveils life-size Raila Odinga statue. Those are the stories that are also making the headlines right there on X. So you can grab a copy of your favorite, and I believe that you'll be on the know. And it's important for us to keep praying ahead of the 2027 election so that God will indeed give us a peaceful and fair election, and more so, raise for us the leaders that need to sit on those seats so that they lead us in the right direction. So let's now have a look at the video of the day.